and others. And with due respect to a lot of the people who speak, it's obvious that they haven't even read the budget document.
Director General, before I take us to Lagos, I just want to ask you about one thing, really. When you look at kind of the way the Federation has been managing its finance over the past 2.5 years, since 2015, one of the things that we've seen consistently is, perhaps even as, there's been a level of frugality, a level of kind of under expenditure. Now, one of the concerns is we have not seen much in the way of savings. And I know, yes, we've been in recession, we're coming out of recession, but with the way the budget has been working, if we project, for example, as we've done in 2017 and now again in 2018, that the crude oil production is going to be at 2.3, which is clearly aspirational. If we project that inflation is going to be at 12 when it's currently between 15 and 16 is aspirational, then what now happens when we fall under and we're not able to put any money away, for example, in the excess crude account, and we make very meager investments in the sovereign wealth fund? 2.5 years, it's only $500 million that we've put in that fund. Only $87 million in the ECA since inception of this administration. When are we going to start saving money?
Well, first of all, again, if you take the level of savings, and I'm glad that you acknowledge that in the backdrop of very challenging economic times. But take the sovereign wealth fund. What are the facts? This fund was established 2011. The first, I think, investments were about 2012. Between then and the advent of this administration, there wasn't, apart from the initial $1 billion, there was no additional investment. This administration, even in these difficult times, has now made an investment of additional $500 million there, and you say that's not significant. It is. If you take the excess crude account, the trend of the excess crude account from the $20 billion height that it attained was always one direction. It was forever going down. Now it's even going up, and you're saying it's not, the accretion is not high enough. But just reversing that trend, that instead of a persistent drawdown on the ECA, we're actually now having an accretion, and that's despite some distributions that have been made out of it.
Director General, in fairness, we just approved a release of $1 billion, so we're still running a deficit. They've put in $500 million, they're taking out $1 billion.
No, they're not taking out $1 billion from the sovereign wealth.
Oh, you're talking about sovereign wealth.
Yes,
okay.
But sure, that's not a subject that I've been, that's something that is in the works. We haven't been advised what action that is needful from an appropriation point of view. I'm sure when the final decisions are made, we will be told. But one thing I would really like to do is backtrack and
but before we do, Director General, we have to get to Lagos, where my colleague Neota is standing by.
Mr. Akabueze, thank you for speaking with us. I have a question, especially when you mentioned you talked about multi-year projects, but we're having multi-year projects in a single-year budget. So then that's what you said, that a lot of people will say that's repetitive budgeting. Is there a way we can make it in such a way that the same figure does not appear every year? Because it looks as if it's the same figure that appears every year.
Well, first of all, until the law is changed, we cannot have multi-year budgets. The law, currently prescribes that the budget for 1 year is laid before the National Assembly. However, there's also a law that requires that the medium-term expenditure framework, which is on a rolling 3-year basis, be presented. And that law says that the budget for each year will derive from the medium-term expenditure framework. So to that extent, there is some, planning over 3 years. And as to whether, you see cases where the same amount, repeats itself, as I've said before, again, in some situations, it might well be that it is the same project in its entirety. Perhaps it was not funded in the previous year, and so they repeated it. In other situations, it might be that, for instance, if you needed to do something, you project that your funding will be available for it over a 3-year period. You can divide the total value of that into 3 and project in each of those 3 years that you will get 1/3 of the amount. And so you budget for 1/3 of that each of those years. That, again, will not make it repetitive. The point I'm making is people need to interrogate these matters. I said, if you go to the budget and see it, go to our citizen portal, for instance, send us a question, ask a question, what are these? What, this thing, and perhaps there will be a good explanation before people jump into, conclusions.
Mr. Akabueze, I guess this is an opportunity for us to get some of these questions answered. So maybe if you can just help clarify. Are you saying that this is what's happening, where you have, for instance, in the Ministry of Power, Works and Housing has a budget where I think one of the senators mentioned it, where on several pages you have issue of purchase of utility vehicles, one over 100 million, the other one about over 200 million, the other one about 400 million, all to purchase utility vehicles from the same budget. Is that what you say is happening here, where you have something, you now spread it out?